A joint study by the Division of Water Resources and Utah State University concludes that the Great Salt Lake dropped a total of 16.5 feet. Global warming accounts for a reduction of 5.5 feet, while water diversion accounts for an 11-foot reduction. The team concluded that 39% of the river water flowing into the Great Salt Lake is being diverted. The Bear River Commission's water meters reveal that the Bear River is flowing at an average rate of 723 cubic feet per second above the canals. Flow data below the canals show that roughly half of Bear River's water volume is being used for irrigation. The Bear River Canal Company's huge, antiquated raw earth, unlined ditch canals resemble flowing rivers. Water diverted from the Bear River is not used for human consumption. The majority of the water taken from the river is used to irrigate the desert to grow hay and alfalfa. 87% of the crops grown in Utah are cattle feed crops. To unravel the story of why growing crops for cattle is taking precedence over the health and prosperity of more than 2 million people, one must travel back to the time of the gold rush. To separate large quantities of gravel from gold flakes, California gold prospectors needed vast amounts of water. The more flowing water a miner had access to, the more gold he could mine. When a new upstream miner diverted water away from an established downstream miner, the dispute was often settled by a gunfight. To keep gold miners from killing each other over who is entitled to use river water in gold mining operations, the California Supreme Court created water right laws called the Prior Appropriation Doctrine in 1855. This antiquated gunslinger water right law governs water rights for western states up until this day. The Prior Appropriation Doctrine has two core laws. The first incredibly simplistic and short-sighted law is, the first in time, the first in line. In other words, the first person to make a water claim, like our 1855 gold miner, gets their allotment of water before any other person given a water right at a later date. Far more valuable than gold, water rights never expire and can be bought and sold like any other property. As pioneers began to settle in Salt Lake City during the mid-1850s, they were granted water rights along the Bear, Jordan, and Weber rivers. The same water rights that allowed farmers to divert water away from the Great Salt Lake more than 100 years ago are still in effect today. Before any sizable population lived in Salt Lake City, the first few water right holders were awarded vast quantities of water. The first-come, first-served prior appropriation doctrine may have worked fine for preventing miners from killing each other 150 years ago, but it is appalling that such a precious and dwindling resource is managed so inadequately in today's modern society. Century-old water right holders are free to continue diverting water away from the Great Salt Lake, irregardless if the water will prevent an environmental toxic dust storm catastrophe. The sheer stupidity of the gold miners' first-come, first-served water right law is exemplified when considering the second core rule of the Prior Appropriation Doctrine. The sheer stupidity of the gold miners' first-come, first-served water right law is exemplified when considering the second core rule of the Prior Appropriation Doctrine. The second core element of the Prior Appropriation Doctrine is, if you don't use it, you will lose it. The person or company who owns a water right must use all of the water allocated to them, or the water right can be revoked over time. So even if a farmer chooses to conserve water to save the Great Salt Lake, he could potentially lose his water right. In May of 2022, Utah modified this utterly absurd law. Under House Bill 33, water right holders will not be penalized if they elect not to use their full allotment of water. In other words, the law has changed to, if you don't use it, you can sell it. House Bill 33 is 100% voluntary. Utah farmers are free to use just as much water as they used in the past without any water conservation requirements. In Part 1, we examined why 214 billion gallons of water is desperately needed to submerge the Great Salt Lake's toxic lakebed. To see why 214 billion gallons is a drop in the bucket when compared to the total amount of water used by Utah's farmers, watch Part 3 of this 4-part series.